Hi everyone, and welcome to the non-probability sampling lecture video. In this lecture video, I want to explore the sampling methods that do not use random sampling, what we call in research methods non-probability sampling. In the last lecture, you learned about the methods of probability sampling. One of the key issues with true probability sampling is the construction of the sample list that contains the entire population. Oftentimes we are not able to get a list of every single person in the population. And so when that happens, we use a non-probability method. We're going to discuss a few common ones in the next slide. Convenient sampling is exactly that. It's using a group that's convenient to the researcher. For example, if I want to study how people prepare for tests and exams, I could go around campus and ask students. That's a convenient sample because my justification for the sample is simple. These are the people I have the easiest access to. The biggest problem with convenient sampling is representativeness. If I'm outside I'm outside asking people to talk to me for an hour and then I leave. So I've only sampled people who are on campus for that 1 hour, which of course affects my sample. What about students who are only enrolled in online classes or students who work immediately after class so they don't hang around after their release, or maybe students who only take night classes? All of these people would not be captured by my sampling procedure, so my sample would not be representative to the larger population, which of course leaves us unable to generalize our findings, which then will reduce my study's external validity. Purposive sample is very similar to convenient sampling because it's about capturing a population that the researcher has access to. But there's an added caveat that you're specifically reaching out to a certain subsection of the population because of the characteristics you're interested in studying. For example, if I'm interested in learning about illegal and deviant behaviors that juveniles engage in, I could go to schools and try to find people who fit my sampling criteria. A lot of my sample, though, may not fit into the criteria of having done illegal and deviant behavior. So I'd have to reach out to a larger group to get enough people to tell me about their illegal behaviors to make conclusions. On the other hand, instead of going to a school, I could go to juvenile court and sample from there. There, I can increase the likelihood of sampling from people who've committed illegal or deviant behavior, so I wouldn't need as large of a sample. Again, the problem is representativeness. Purposive sampling is really good for description studies because I can get in-depth information only related to a few cases. However, this method of sampling lacks power for explanatory studies because I can't explain all of juvenile delinquency when I only sample people who've been referred to juvenile court. Snowball sampling is another really common non-probability method that is often used in descriptive and exploratory studies. Here you contact someone in your population that you're studying and ask them to provide information about someone who would fit your study requirements that would talk to you, and that process continues. This type of sampling is really helpful for hidden populations, people who aren't easy to track using official data or who wouldn't automatically participate in the research. This would include homeless and transient populations, people engaged in illegal behaviors, or people engaged in highly stigmatized or deviant behaviors. I use snowball sampling a lot in my own research very frequently because people listed on the sex offender registry are often very hesitant to discuss their situation out of fear of being stigmatized or harassed. Having someone vouch for me as an objective and empathetic listener helps reassure potential research participants that they can participate without having negative effects on their life. The problem with snowball sampling is shown here with the coloring. Because the sampling process works by referral, you typically end up getting a single network of people. Everyone down the chain will know and quite possibly resemble one another because of the social ties that hold the group together. That's one of the main reasons that this type of research is used for exploratory or descriptive purposes more commonly than explanatory purposes. The last type of non-probability sampling I want to talk about is quota sampling. This method is very similar to stratified sampling because you split your original population into sections based on important characteristics. However, because quota sampling does not use random selection, you will instead force a representativeness in your sample by purposely recruiting sample participants that fit the required demographics. For example, look at this example population. This population is 75% female and 25% male. When I create a sample using quota sampling, I would purposefully recruit more females than males to try to achieve a similar ratio. So in my 100-person sample, I would purposely recruit 75 females and 25 males. That gives me the same percentage of males versus females as my full population, with the goal of reducing my sampling bias through increased representativeness. All right, congratulations, you've finished all the sampling lectures. Thanks for watching, everyone.